Greetings to everybody, wherever you may be around the world. We are grateful for this opportunity to be on the air with you. This is Dr. Willie Jolly
Hi, this is Dee Taylor-Jolley.
And we are the Jolleys here with Happily Married Mondays.
With the Jolleys.
With the Jolleys. And we, for those who are joining us maybe for the first time, we're the authors of the book, Make Love.
Make Money.
Make It Last. 10 Secrets to Shape a Great Marriage. And we are very excited about the response from the book.
Focuses on sex, money, and communication. There you go. Let's get to
it. Let's get, you want to jump right in. Because we got a lot of stuff to share. But for those who are just joining us, want to do a couple things. Want you to do a couple things. If you'd be so kind, we want you to start a watch party. Start a watch party.
Like, share, and watch.
Watch it. Do a watch party. Then hit like and then share. So share it with Lottie Dottie and everybody.
You can see I'm always bottom line. Let's get to it.
So our friend Sharon Fanto is on with us.
Hey, Sharon.
From Atlanta, our dear friend. And we got
beautiful
Nita's
home,
son
beautiful family
from Southern Maryland. We got folks joining in. We want to thank everybody who has been telling their friends about this, because that is what has built this audience where we had last week was a big audience. So again, start a watch party, share, like, because that helps to get it to more people, and we are grateful. We want to talk about a continuation from last week because it was such a
secrets to tell or not tell your spouse.
The secrets to tell or not tell.
Now, I think the question becomes, secrets about what?
That's what the question is. Well, it was born out of, hey Jerry Lee, we love you. The whole premise was built on this whole red table entanglement with Jada.
Drama gets people to tune in, and I think
Will
they created
Smith.
It intentionally.
Maybe so. It was great PR because the young man who she was entangled with, I didn't know his name before that, August, I believe it was, and then there was all of the, I think they had the biggest viewership they've ever had with her and Will Smith in talking about this situation.
Well,
so
what I thought was so interesting was how calm Will was at the fact that his wife was having an affair that under some certain communication says that he gave his consent since they were officially separated. But I say only celebrities with millions and billions of dollars and all of that can do that. Can you think of a normal couple where I'm mad at you and I'm not talking to you, let us separate for a while, and then you discover that one of us is having, I didn't say me, one of us is having an affair, and then you go public with it. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Well, first of all,
I don't think in real life you do that.
I do think in real life you do that, and I think there are a lot of people who do that, and there are a lot of relationships
who talk about that.
Well, they don't talk about it because they don't have the platforms you talk about. You talk about who do it. I mean, to have this kind of conversation, somebody steps away and they separate. And somebody.
But they don't come back into the marriage and then talk about this is what I did.
Well, they don't talk about it on television, on radio, because they don't have that platform. They might tell their friends or family members, and so we don't have that kind of relationship. But we've never been separated. One, I've never had any outside relationships with anybody.
Since you've been married to me.
That's correct.
We won't talk about what a cad you were before.
Thanks be to God for God's grace and mercy for changing me and cleaning me up from a wretch. He saved a wretch like me. Okay, let's see.
Would you tell one question? Would you tell about your past affairs or your past entanglements before you were married? And I think the answer is it depends.
It depends. That's correct. It depends.
We're agreeing.
We agree on that one. It depends. Some stuff you need to keep to yourself.
What does it depend on?
you need.
And that's where we got stuck last week. Because I say it depends upon exactly what it is you're talking about. Okay, I was married before, right?
She was married before.
He was never married.
I'm never married.
He was just a cad. So Are there?
Hold up. She keeps saying I'm a cad. I was a single man in Washington, D.C.
And in fact, when we started dating, you were dating me and several others at the same time. Let me tell you, know what an interesting thing? Let me tell you one interesting thing that he used to do. And this was before cell phones. And I was like, I wasn't mad. I was like, he really is well organized. He can juggle these different women. He would call me and say, you can call me sometime. We only had the landline. So he would call me in the evening to see how I was doing. And he would say to me, you can call me sometimes. But you know what? He was at some other girl's house.
How do you know that? How do you know that?
Is that true or not?
Well,
is that true?
Not always. That wasn't always the truth. So anyway, we want to talk about
he can juggle very well.
This subject. This is a very interesting subject about relationships. And one of the things we want to talk about is that it gets back to some of the principles of having a happy marriage from the book. Because
communication.
This is communication. This is communication. Look, folks, we've got to say it over and over again. The 3 things that break up marriage. How many of you agree? Come on, tell the truth. How many agree? Is sex, something about the sex. Either it was not happening, it was happening too much, or somebody was stepping outside.
It's usually not happening too much. It's usually not happening enough. Or it's happening in such a way that one person is not getting satisfied and not being willing to communicate to the other person that their needs are not being met.
Okay.
Hello?
All right. Sex.
Okay.
Money. Mm-hmm. Too much, not enough, or not by too much. Too much spending. Too much spending, or not respecting money, or not discussing money.
Or hiding.
Or hiding money, or having separate agendas about money, or having different attitudes and perspectives. One person's a saver, another person's a spender, and it creates a problem. So sex, money, and communication.
And communication is that common thread.
So
back to the basic question,
right.
Then what would you tell? Okay, so Jada and Will tell all because it does help their brand, which means it helps them make more money.
Right.
I don't see how that's beneficial to normal people who want to keep their marriages together. Which then gets to the point, specifically, what kind of secrets would you not share with your mate?
Well, we've talked about almost everything. We really have. We've talked about just about everything about our past relationships. She knows
the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, she knows all my ex-girlfriends.
And some of them are really very nice people.
I think they were all great people. Mm-hmm. I can't.
And I was in the space when they were in the space. When some of them were in the space.
But I care about them because they're good people.
Yes.
And I was attracted to them because they were good people.
Yes.
So we just didn't get married. Okay. Now you married somebody.
Yes.
Before me. Yes. And let me tell y'all.
We all get along.
We get along. He my dog. He calls every time in D.C. I'll tell you real quick, how the first time he came. So he comes to D.C. We married.
Is this off topic?
Well, I got to tell this story, though. It's so good. And so he calls, and Dee is out. And he says...
That was when we were landlining it.
Yeah, and I said... He said, I'm in D.C. Don't y'all live somewhere on 13th Street or so? I said, yeah, he's almost 16th Street up near Silver Spring. I said, and I'm going downtown. You'll ride right by our block. Stop on in. He said, I wanted to stop in. Yeah, stop on in. He came in, and me and him, I sat down, I introduced him. We talked, how you doing? And then my son was in law school studying. I called him and said, look, come home. I want you to meet your mom's ex-husband. And he comes over, and my son, for those who know, big gregarious guy, and he hugs everybody. He hugged them. And then finally, I called Dee, and she showed up. And there was cell phones, but most people called on a house phone. And I called you on your cell. And she showed up, and we all sat around talking and laughing. And he said something that I'll never forget. He said, I'm blown away by how well you've treated me. And I said, look, man, I got nothing against you. I appreciate you. And much love, nothing but love. He said, man, and over the years, we've had many visits, okay? So, look, one of those things that comes from is in the book, that we have a chapter, Leave the Drama with Your Mama, chapter number 5.
We didn't have a need for drama because our relationships in terms of my marriage to him was over but there was no ill will or animosity between us. And I'm not sure that everyone who's gone through a divorce can say that. But how do you get to the point where at least you can be civil, especially if there were children, and there were no children? No children.
So let me read this quote from the book. Chapter number 5, Leave the Drama with Your Mama. There's a psychological law that says, focus on peace and you will prosper. Focus on drama and you will flounder. Dr. David Goodman. And so our friend Dr. Clarice Fluid, great speaker, been married to her husband George for over 50 years. She says this is, love is blind, but marriage is an eye-opener. Yeah, so we read, there's some great stories in the book about drama and how to get past drama and get on with your life so that you can have a great marriage and a great relationship. And that's what we want people to have. The reason we do this Happily Married Monday is because we want to save 1 million marriages, enhance 1 million marriages, and that's why we wrote the book. So we encourage you to go, by the way, to jollymarriage.com and get a free chapter. If you've never seen the book, go to jollymarriage.com. Get a free chapter. We give one of the most profound chapters away free. And then get the book. If you want to invest in your relationships and your marriage and just getting it better, get 2 copies of the book and get the audio book and the workbook. Get the whole package. It's much cheaper than a divorce lawyer. Trust me, it's much cheaper.
Okay, so let's go back to
red table. Secret.
To tell or not to tell.
Should you tell or not to?
Our conclusion is that it depends upon
really
the situation. And I'm saying it also depends upon the kind of specific relationship that you have with your mate. And if there is a feeling of security.
Where I was going, security.
And that there aren't ego problems. That's a whole nother issue. If one person feels insecure, and why might they feel insecure? Is it because perhaps you have not helped to make your mate feel insecure? So every time
make your mate feel secure.
Make your mate feel secure, and every time the name of the ex comes up or the former girlfriend, you fall to pieces. Then there's some more communication and work that you have to do right there because your mate must feel secure. And
let me say this, security, we usually talk about it for women, that women need security and intimacy. And we write about that in the book. But also, men need to feel secure in the sense of their manhood.
I was going to say, in terms of their manhood, in terms of how you make him feel.
That's right.
He's the king of the hill.
We say men need 2 things, sex and respect. And that respect is a security that they
And I think perhaps respect comes first, because respect affects the way that you're able to handle your sex. Am I not right?
That's correct. That's correct.
Because the sex really is psychological before you get to the physical part.
Yeah, I guess so. We don't care. Men don't care. Men, tell the truth. You don't care whether it's psychological, physical, what. You don't care. All right, we haven't analyzed it to that level.
But I do think one thing affects the other. Who would agree with me?
All right. So what we want to say to men and women and folks all around the world who are joining us is that this is a point where you must have communication. Now, you've got to know some about your mate. And I would say here's the thing. Some people communicate because they want to create jealousy. They want to create drama. That really is drama.
That's because they're insecure. If you have to if you feel
I got to tell you about my ex.
To make your mate jealous, this person, when you guys have agreed to be together, you're together willingly, and you feel the need to make your mate jealous, then that says you're insecure. Then there's some work to do.
Oh, yeah, there's some work to do. And what we're finding, we're getting letters and we're getting more and more emails from people about security issues. And the fact that some of these security issues are major issues that people have. So that's why we say it depends. I don't want to just give you a flat blanket statement, just say talk about everything in your past. Some stuff you don't need to talk about.
You might just need to ask God for forgiveness.
Forgive me, God, Lord, have mercy.
Let me bring up, because I always have another piece of information.
She always has that to her research.
So, do you have to tell your spouse everything? So this is an article by a man by the name of Joe Bean, who is president of a group called Marriage Helper. And his advice for when people talk about, should I tell my mate everything? He says it depends, but then he says there's 3 questions that I would ask. I don't know whether or not I necessarily agree, but I thought this was kind of interesting. His first question is there any other way the person can find out? Isn't that interesting?
That's interesting.
So then that was suggested we're kind of going down the path of maybe some infidelity or something like that. So his first question is, should I share with my spouse? And his first question is there any other way that person can find out the information? Isn't that interesting?
That's interesting. I don't know if I agree with that or not.
I said this is a whole nother
just some stuff you just approach. I'm not. What's your motive or your motivation? Am I hiding it, or is it just that something?
Second, have they asked you about a particular situation? You see what I'm saying? Again, that gets into communication.
Okay.
And then the third one I thought was interesting. Is there any part of you that will hold back from your spouse because you feel guilty for not sharing what's going on? I think that tends to lean towards people who are dealing with more infidelity. I just found that very interesting.
Well, we are, and one of the things we always tell you this is that we talk to people in our sessions. By the way, let me stop. Let me put a pin there before I go any. We have talked about in our staff meetings this week, or last week, that we're going to do something with my wife. And many people said they missed out getting their dose of D, so we're going to make sure we have a dose of D to that tonight. But as part of the dose of D is just calls it like she sees it. Sometimes it can be rough and tough. So
I'm a nice Southern belle. Thank you.
Yeah, but much. You straight no chaser. So we're going to have a seminar for women only. How many would like to know more about that? With D, it's called Straight Talk with D. But she's gonna tell you the straight talk. She pulls no punches. And so we want to encourage you to send us an email.
I want to talk about sex.
Okay. So whatever you want to talk about, but it's going to be a seminar. It's going to be a paid event, and
I don't know that. We haven't discussed that.
Yes, we did. We discussed that. We discussed that at the staff meeting. You pay to get that access.
You see, we're still working it out.
Well, we don't know how much yet. We're working on it. But if you're interested, then I would like you to send us an email at info@williejolly.com. Info, and just say I'm interested in knowing more about the Straight Talk with D.
This is Straight Talk.
Straight Talk. Okay, so let's see. We got a couple comments here. Someone said perhaps those people should not be married who are from those comments. You said, that maybe you're right. They shouldn't be married.
But sometimes stuff happens after they get married because they stop communicating.
Yeah, that thing. Communication.
That's I don't think we go into marriage expecting, most people, that it's going to end or that I'm going to run around. Not unless that's perhaps a cultural thing.
Right.
But stuff happens.
Right.
And instead of coming to the table and talking to each other about it, we then console and lick our wounds by doing other things that end up hurting each other even more.
Right.
Other comments?
Yeah. Let's see who else. Those are the main comments there. So let's keep going. Main thing for this is that when you're having information that is secret, first of all, never keep secrets about money so that they're hidden agendas and hidden counts and all that. That's first of all. And then your past, I don't know if you need to tell it or everything. My mind says we talk about a lot of,
depends.
But I think it depends. Because some people cannot handle it, okay?
Correct.
And they just cannot handle it, and they'll be in their mind all the time. And so maybe you need to keep that to yourself.
But then
take it to your grave with you.
That comes down to knowing your mate and knowing the sensitive issues and things that are better left unsaid.
And so knowing your mate and knowing and having the relationship so that you can have those deep conversations and you know how far to go.
That means you got to study your mate.
We'll talk about that because you talk about it very often in our relationships. You talk about knowing your mate.
Yeah, that means
studying your mate.
I understand what things push your buttons. I understand things that you like because I pay attention to your what you say as well as your body language.
Yep.
And
That's
I know
it.
what concerns you. And
Target. Terrence says right on the target, 100%. That's it.
Ah.
You're right on. There you go. There we go. So we want to encourage hey Moses, we're waiting for you, man. We knew you were coming.
Hi, Moses.
We're talking about part 2 of secrets, and should you keep a secret?
And we came to the conclusion that it depends.
It depends.
And it depends upon. It depends because you've got to know your mate very well as to what they can handle.
Yes.
And then the level of security that they feel and how you have made your mate feel secure.
Right.
So if you're busy making me feel secure and I'm busy making you feel secure, then that love is constantly.
We are constantly making each other feel secure.
Who loves who more?
So
I would never say or do anything that would intentionally, knowingly make him upset.
Or hurt my feelings,
yes.
or make me insecure, and vice versa.
Right.
And so there's certain things that we, I don't think I've kept to myself. That's not what I want to say. I want to say that I'm always mindful that there are no secrets, and particularly in our marriage.
But also,
I've told her, I'll tell you an example. Great example. Lady worked with us some years ago.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
She was a consultant.
Was a consultant.
Honey, you got to hurry up because you're on my time.
I'm not on your time.
Yes, you are.
Am I?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. And the lady said she wanted to have a business meeting at this after hours food place.
A club.
A social club. Mm-hmm. I said, okay. And so I came down, and she said, and we, she ordered food, and we were talking about business. She said, now, we've talked about business and marketing and how we build your brand and all that. Let me talk about something else I've been thinking of. I said, okay, what, and I'm just thinking, yeah, she's married, she's got children. She said, I really want to have an affair with you. What? She said, I want to have an affair. You turn me on. Just in the office, you turn me on. And I just want to know, no one needs to know. Just be me and you. Nobody, my husband need to know. Your wife never needs to know.
So you see,
and she initiate affairs. And she had thought about her whole spiel. She had gave it to me in a great logical rationale and where we could do it and get together. And I said, whoa. And I said, wow. I said, look, I appreciate it, but no, that ain't going to happen. And so I said, no, that's not going to happen. And I appreciate that you made me feel, but I did come home and told my wife about it. Of course, that way the woman never came back to her office anymore.
I was like, wow. I mean, I wasn't angry.
No, she wasn't angry. She just said, wow.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, because you are attractive and you are all that. Okay. So it means I have to stay on my game.
You cute though.
Thank you. Right. So now, dose of D. Let's go.
Turns me on.
Okay, a dose of D.
That's really
Here's my story.
All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, we're going to do this event. Send us an email, info@williejolly.com for Straight Talk with D for women. It's only for women.
We're planning.
No, just send an email. info@williejolly.com. Straight Talk for women. Let's go. Dose of D.
Okay, dose of D. So here's my story for today. This lady's name is Adrienne Austin, and she is a doctor. And
I gotta say one thing. One thing. Terrence said that a good friend of mine had to be hospitalized because he could not handle it. He's better now, but had to take a year off to recover.
Hospitalized
for his wife telling her about her past, and it upset him. So that's good.
Wow.
All right, go. Dose of D.
Wow.
Please.
Yes, her name is Adrienne Austin. There was an article about her, and she was a pilot who flew emergency missions in Iraq. Okay, the significance of that is that when she started her 7 months of flying these emergency missions in Iraq, she got her will and her power of attorney in place, and she made her funeral plans and put it in Google Docs and told her husband and her brother. Okay. Now she's back. She's been back for 3 years, and now she's in the midst of the coronavirus situation in a hospital in Los Angeles. And the question becomes, is she in a war zone? And she feels like she's in a war zone. So what does that have to do with now? It has to do with that we're in a war zone. We don't know when we might be here and then gone tomorrow. We have several dear friends who passed away, and one in particular friend, Patrick Ellis, who for 40-some years was the anchor of the Sunday morning gospel show WHUR. We were with him the end of February, 1st of March, with his new home. with his studio that overlooked the bay, right? He was fine. Then several weeks later, I guess it was in May, he invited you out for his inaugural show. So he was broadcasting his show from his Bayview home. I said, no, you can't go. We can't go. And why couldn't we go? Because the coronavirus was exploding. And you know what? 3.5 weeks later, he was dead.
He had COVID.
So he had COVID. He had COVID. Okay?
He went somewhere and picked it up. He was in a bubble, but he just had one moment.
So here's where I'm going with that. We have a responsibility to our loved ones to always have our stuff in order, or to start to get it in order. And what does that look like? There are 4 things: a revocable living trust, a will, a financial power of attorney, and a health care durable power of attorney. Let's deal with the health care durable power of attorney. Willie had a colonoscopy a couple of weeks ago, right? And what happened? When you got ready to go, they said, bring your health care durable power of attorney with you. And you turned to me and you said, Dee, that's exactly how. And what'd you say?
I said, Dee, we need to get that power of attorney and health.
You said, what? Do we have it?
I know we had it. I just didn't know. I didn't know where it was. I said, Dee, and I knew she could put her finger on it.
Went to the file. I pulled it out. I made a copy of it, handed it to you. So when you went in, that I had to drop you off at the door, you had all of your stuff in order.
Yes, sir, I did.
Right?
Yes.
And in Maryland, where his colonoscopy was done, he had to have that in order to go in and have his procedure. Okay? Your financial power of attorney says if you're not able to make your own decisions as to your money because you're incapacitated for some reason, who's going to do it for you?
Right.
Then your will says, I'm dead. Now here's how I want my information, my materials dispensed.
And let me say, you don't want to leave that up to people to deal with later, because it creates all sorts of stress and strain in the relationship of a family.
Well, you lose control. You don't. The state determines it if you don't have a will.
30 seconds.
Okay, and then number 1, the revocable living trust means you put all of your documents into one unit that you control.
Right.
Which means you avoid probate in the event that you pass away, and it is already laid out as to who can handle your affairs.
And what do you say to the woman who says that I'm living with a guy for 7 years, I don't have any will, and I'm living in his house? What do you call that? Go ahead,
You want me to say that I think it's stupid?
Yeah, that's what I want. That's what you said when somebody asked that. You said it's stupid. That's the real deal D. And if you want to get the real deal D, and you want her to be straight, no chaser, want you to send us an email, info@williejolly.com. It's for women only. We'll maybe do something for men later, but for women only, for particularly married women, but women.
Here's the word that I'm thinking of. I'm thinking, here are the words: well, wealthy, wedded women.
Our time is up. We got to go, but we got to go. Our time is up. As I told you, we have a time limit because we're now taking it to television, and we got to have room for
Jolly
the time
out.
to have it. Jolly out. Hope y'all enjoyed it. We'll see you next week. Tell Lottie, Dottie, and everybody. God bless you. Have a great day.